nearly didn't do a video today, and the only reason I'm doing one now is a couple of people have asked, where's your video? And not doing a video is quite a big decision, because this is our job, really. And despite what people say, no one's paying you to drive a Ferrari unless you're getting, I don't know, loads of millions of views playing Minecraft or something like that. And I think the reason was, it wasn't I had nothing to say, but I thought, does anyone really want to hear me whinging about Graham Potter again today? Because that's really what I was going to do. Or moaning about what a state the club is in, because I think the club is in a right state. But anyway, I had a couple of messages, and not many to be fair, 5 or 6 messages, people saying, "Oh, where's the video today? When are you uploading today?" So look, here it is, and I can only be as honest as I can be, and I can really only be myself on this. I feel a bit bad as well for Graham Potter. I don't like necessarily always criticising the same person over and over again. I'm fully aware that there are bigger problems at the club. I think firstly, David Sullivan appointing Julian Lopetegui was a massive, massive error. I think Karen Brady pushing to appoint Graham Potter looks like it might be a massive error. I hope to be proven wrong on that. But I don't think in any instance we've gone and got best in class. As I said before, we got available and we got cheap. And that's what we got. That's what we got. I don't understand it, because I think it's completely doesn't make any sense, because I don't think we always do everything on the cheap. As I say, look at the wages we paid Guido Rodriguez. Look at the money we spent. Look at how much money we spent on Max Kilman. So it's not like we do everything on the cheap. So I'm not entirely sure why we would spend so much money on players and then spend sort of nothing on managers. So look, we got big problems, and there's no doubt about it. Behind the scenes and the ownership, and I think perhaps the it's not rudderless, but maybe there's too many rudders, too many owners, too many cooks. Maybe that's part of the problem. I don't know. I really don't know. But make no mistake about it. I think that behind the scenes, they are to blame for all of this. They are absolutely to blame for all of this. So for that reason, I feel a bit bad about Potter, because he's sort of getting the brunt of it. But I also don't subscribe to this theory that there's no way nobody can do a better job than Potter because of the ownership. That's completely debunked. That's completely disproven. The last guy, Lopetegui, who I thought was a crap manager, has done better than Potter, right? So let's just get that right as well. The biggest thing I'm worried about going forward, and I've said this a few times, which is why I thought, I'm going to do a video and say the same thing. It is that next season we don't have anyone that's really probably any good at recruitment. And that's a problem, because Graham Potter has proven he cannot manage these players, all right, or coach these players, whatever you want to say. He can't get the best out of this group. He gets the worst out of this group, right? At the moment, to me, Graham Potter's looking about as good as Avram Grant. And then I don't have no evidence to suggest next season it'll be better. Only hope that it will. And if the best thing we can say about Graham Potter at the moment is, well, what do you expect under these owners? That's just slagging off the owners. That's not saying anything positive about Graham Potter. And maybe, just maybe, we needed a manager who could thrive under these circumstances. Who knows? But the biggest problem is, if you concede that he cannot manage or coach this group of players, then I guess, just stands to reason that you would think he needs new players. My biggest worry is that West Ham won't be able to get those players in. I think if West Ham can get in a number of players, decent players, and even maybe half the players we're linked with, I think Potter will be all right next season. I don't think we'll be brilliant, but I think we'll be all right. I don't think we go down. My biggest issue is we keep this manager and not enough happens in the transfer window, and I think we go down. I think it's that close, I really do. And that's how I'm feeling about it at the moment. So I am concerned, and I am majorly concerned, and I do not like what I see. I do not like the lack of ambition in our attack. I do not like the fact that most players look worse under him. And I certainly don't like his substitutions. He very, very much looked like he was happy for it to be 1-1. Both managers, I thought we had two managers both happy for it to be 1-1. I just thought one of them was surprised in terms of Ange Postecoglou that he was going to get a point from it. I'm not even sure they arrived at the London Stadium I'm certainly not probably looking for a point, maybe, but not expecting one. Anyway, what I want to do is I want to read. I'm going to read to you now. I'll be honest. We've had a couple of transfer links today. I'm just not. I can't be arsed. It's not even that I don't believe them, or I don't believe that we're not interested. Today they don't mean anything to me. Tomorrow maybe I'll feel different. And in all honesty, I'm going to swig my cheap water. You get like 1 million bottles of this from Aldi for £1.79. I'm on a diet, as you may know. It's going all right, actually. Thank you for asking. People have been asking. Actually, it's going all right. It's going all right. I'm trying to lower my cholesterol, and I'm doing all right. Anyway, but I'm going out for a Nando's, but just a chicken, all right. Just a chicken. I'm going out for a Nando's in a little bit. So I thought I'd do this video now. But I'm going to read to you. Ready? Now this is from... I didn't know this because I've not read the newspaper. So I've actually nicked this article from somebody called West Ham Geezer. West Ham Geezer. Off of Twitter, not Twitter, is it? It's X, that's it. X. West Ham Geezer. So thank you very much. He's taken a picture of his newspaper. And this is from The Times. And it's from Tony Cascarino. Former Millwall player. Republic of Ireland striker. No. I doubt... So, sometimes, I've got to be honest here. I do not... I know I keep on saying I've got to be honest. Not going to lie. When somebody like Paul Merson, Richard Keys... someone like that speaks about West Ham, Chris Sutton, you think they've got an axe to grind. I don't pay any attention, right? Because I just think, well, you're just biased. You don't like us anyway. You're just going to say nasty old crap, right? So I don't pay any attention. I've not been aware that Cascarino is anti-West Ham or anything else. So anyway, so Cascarino went to the London Stadium and watched West Ham v Tottenham. I'm going to read bits and pieces of what he said. And I just have to agree. I agree with pretty much everything he said. Anyway, he said yesterday afternoon he watched one of the most watered-down London derbies he's ever watched. A West Ham fan asked me for my thoughts after the match, and I told him it was a hard watch, if I'm honest. The supporter replied, since Graham Potter came in, I've not seen one good game here, meaning, obviously at the home ground. He wasn't the only one frustrated with West Ham's performance under Potter. Fans could be heard groaning towards the end of the second half as they witnessed their team pass side to side aimlessly in front of Tottenham Hotspur. Spurs are a better side than West Ham, but with one eye on the Europa League semi-final second leg on Thursday, the team Ange Postecoglou put out there was for the taking. Yet Potter's side couldn't capitalise. I have to absolutely agree with this. We knew what we had to do, but I don't think we know how to score goals. And I don't say this with hindsight. I've not got many right. I'm not suggesting I'm the oracle or anything like that. But I thought this game would be a 1-1 because I just couldn't see a situation where we score lots of goals. I never can. They were there for the taking. I agree with what Cascarino said. Anyway, it says Potter made a name for himself at Brighton due to the entertaining brand of football he played, which had the recently promoted team punching above their weight and earned him plaudits from fans and pundits. Potterball, it was branded, but it's more like Potterbore at the moment. At West Ham, Potter hasn't been able to implement his style. They look pedestrian on the ball and unenthusiastic off of it. Some would argue he has implemented his style. He's definitely implemented something, and it's definitely improved the defence. But we've swapped. We were piling forward. I can't remember what that game was against Bournemouth, but it was something like more shots, more attempts in that game. It broke a record for attempts. I don't know if it was just in a Bournemouth match or whatever. I can't remember exactly what the record was. But we went from a team that was just attacking all the time to a team that seems like it's defending all the time now. Cascarino carries on. He said the squad is more than good enough for a manager like Potter to get a tune out of. Jared Bowen has been West Ham's main man in attack for the past 3 or 4 seasons, while Mohamed Kudus showed flashes of serious talent in his first year at the club last term. Both attackers are significantly down on their output this season, and the German striker Nicholas Füllkrug, who was brought in to bolster their options in the summer, has failed to hit the ground running. It's a similar story in midfield. Last season, reliable options Lucas Paqueta and Edson Alvarez struggling with form. And this year, PSG loanee Carlos Soler hasn't provided the expected impact. These are all technical players who fit the way Potter likes his teams to play, yet the team are somehow still stale to watch. We are stale. Stale it's not nice to hear it, but I do think it's accurate. I want to point this out with Potter as well. Lopetegui had injuries to Bowen. He missed Bowen, I don't know, a month, something like that. Potter has already had the use of Füllkrug more than Lopetegui did. Lopetegui was also missing Kudus. You remember he had his 5-match ban. What I'm saying is, Potter was doing better. Sorry, Lopetegui was doing better than Potter. But Potter's had more players available. And good players as well. I do agree. I think if you're going to build a passing team, then those players are more than good enough to be able to do it. I still think we lack energy and we lack legs in midfield. I'm not suggesting it's perfect, and the club have got to pull their weight. These showings can't continue for much longer at a club like West Ham before supporters start making their voices heard in numbers. 3 things come to mind when I think of things I associate with West Ham. Don't worry about that. I'm going to skip that bit. He said, I think Potter is losing sight of things a bit. As a manager of a team that attracts 60,000 fans in their home stadium, you have a responsibility to entertain your supporters. This is so true. I'm not going to read the rest of the article. And I make this point. I'm glad to hear someone in the media point it out. Because I've said this repeatedly. The moment you decide to take a team from 30,000, 34,000, whatever, Upton Park, and say, right, we're going to move over to that stadium. So basically, we're going to need another 25,000 people who don't normally attend. You better give them reason to. You better give them reason to. And I don't know. It's not for me to dig anyone out. I'm not in a great position to talk about it. Truth be known, I have my children most weekends. I can't make it up to London to go to games. I've been to hardly any games this season at all. So it's not for me to be talking about attending and not attending games. But I hear a lot of people saying they're not going to renew from next season. The renewal rate's going to be horrendous. That stadium's going to be half empty next season if it carries on like this. And you do have a responsibility. But I still think the owners have a responsibility to hire a coach who's going to get teams playing on the front foot. Cascarino, I agree with pretty much everything he said. But he talks about West Ham passing the ball side to side, but also within a paragraph, he's talking about Potter hasn't implemented his style. I think that was his style, wasn't it, at Brighton? He was passing the ball from side to side. And if the board thought it was going to be anything other than that, then they hadn't done their research. But I'm not surprised about that at all. I don't think Potter got the gig based on research. I remember last season when, actually season before last, when we were linked with Potter. Whenever it was, I don't remember. But I do remember David Sullivan had his reservations. And I remember that really, really well because my old mate Hugh, bless him, he'd asked Sullivan if there was any... I think we were linked with Cooper as well, who was at Forest at the time. Cooper and Potter were 2 managers that we'd linked with. And very much David Sullivan had given the impression that he wasn't too impressed with Potter because he thought maybe Potter's best work had been done because of Tony Bloom. I remember Hugh telling me that. I didn't disagree, by the way. I didn't disagree with that at all. So I think it's not a lack of research per se. But I just don't think that is what has got Potter the job. I think Potter has got the job because he's Karen Brady's mate. And I think West Ham are in a mess because of these poor decisions. I think West Ham are in a mess because we've hired the wrong manager. And I think even at best, that stadium is going to be not too full next season. The end of this season was a real opportunity to to create an advert for people to sign up for next season, and it's just not been done. Not in either hiring a Potter or not the football that Potter is producing. Certainly not the substitutions that Potter is doing. It is things like him not putting Guilherme on is not helping his cause. I just don't think he's helping himself. He's starting to seem a little bit wounded in the press, which I don't particularly want to. I don't even know how I'm going to package this video up because I don't want to, Potter out and all the rest of it. I'm not particularly too keen to do that because I don't think it's overly helpful to West Ham at all. But the Lucas Paqueta situation, where he was crying yesterday, as we know, and he's really struggling, and now we've had a little bit of context. I thought Potter was really good in his post-match interview that he did to the assembled press, because he said, he spoke very warmly about Lucas Paqueta, and I was pleased to hear him say that. But in his immediate interview, when he did the immediate interview with the West Ham guy, the interview's still on the West Ham website if you want to go and watch it. He was spiky. He was asked about Paqueta, and he turned around and said, "Well, we're damned if we do, damned if we don't, aren't we?" He said, "We show too much emotion, we're criticised. If we show no emotion, we're criticised." But well, hold on, mate. You're too spiky there. You're too. And it worries me when managers turn like that, because actually it wasn't about him. You almost felt he was almost responding to himself, and he got criticised for the Brighton one. Well, actually, nobody was. I didn't hear it. Certainly not after the game. No, everyone had just had sympathy for Paqueta. Why are you saying that? I didn't understand why Potter was reacting like that. And given half an hour, he'd obviously calmed down. And I think it's difficult when you have a camera thrust in front of your face directly after a match. Don't get me wrong. But I didn't know why he turned it like that. Particularly not against the in-house interviewer, who was very much saying we and us and stuff like that. And it just wasn't. It was about Lucas Paqueta. It wasn't about Potter, being criticised for not showing emotion. And Paqueta wasn't being criticised for showing emotion. Everybody really sympathised with him. And what worried me about that, not that I think that Potter is particularly self-centred. I don't. By all accounts, you hear he's a very nice man. The players really like this guy. Really, really like this guy. But that doesn't mean he's a good football coach, by the way. That doesn't mean that. It just means he's a nice guy. And that's fine. And that's great. But there comes a point where you don't assess him how generous and lovely and nice and warm and empathetic he is. You have to start assessing him in terms of, can he put together an attack? Can he buy players and whatnot? And the fact of the matter is, we're very close to reaching a milestone, and this is under Potter, where we won't have won a game for a quarter of a season. And what Cascarino called it, Potterbore, it does seem to be like that. It does seem to be a number of people switching off. And there will always be people that react badly when you say such things. But I've heard enough. I've seen enough in the comments. I've seen enough feedback I've seen enough on the forum. I've seen enough people that have spoken on WhatsApp and on social media, enough people that went to that game yesterday to know that the people are switching off in their droves. And people are just sick of this stuff. And Potter is, at present, bearing the brunt of the blame. But people know what's going on. People do know that there are things going on behind the scenes, or not going on behind the scenes. They do know where the problem rests. And I said it before, you just go back and watch that video I did the other day about Bournemouth's training ground. And Bournemouth's infrastructure and their scouts and the way they're doing it. And somebody actually wrote on there, he said, have I missed something? What trophy have Bournemouth won in recent years? And he asked the question, what have I missed? That's it. Have I missed something? Basically saying, have I missed something? They might have. What he was saying was they might have the training ground, they might have the coaches, they might have the good manager, but what have they won? And he did miss something. He missed the context and the nuance of what I was saying. And it's a good line. What have Bournemouth won? And I think you can just use that as a throwaway line. But the overriding gist of what I was saying, which was also what was missed, was that West Ham are getting left behind in almost every metric. And people know that this is what's going on behind the scenes. People know that this is what's happening as a result of inactivity at board level, and some of the stuff I hear, you just can't even say, because you don't know if it's true, and you get yourself in trouble. But it's not great. It's not great at all. And Potter may well just be a guy that has been elevated beyond his station. As I say, I have no evidence. I've got lots of evidence that I can give you to suggest Potter will struggle next season. I have none to say he's going to thrive. None. And that's a worry. That's a major worry. But I do have hope. And that's all I've got. And I do think if we can get our players, we'll be okay. And I do mean okay. But he's going to need, it's not just backing from the board. I think the board give managers backing in terms of, as I say, we spend money like a drunken sailor. But it's wisdom from the board, it's infrastructure, it's analysis, and it's that stuff that's just in really, really short supply. So there you go, right. I'm off of my Nando's. I am sorry it's another miserable old video, but there you go. What can I say? But we've not won since February, and I'd be lying if I said I thought we were going to win again this season, and that's a problem, and it's got me very, very worried indeed.